Hi guys, welcome back to the Ghosting Girls.
Welcome back.
Anywho, I'm Alicia. Hi.
I'm Christina. Hi. That's my dog introducing herself by hacking.
She's got the dad throat.
Yeah,
She's going back to bed. Bye.
she is. She's like, I've had it. Yeah, today, I'm all out of sorts today because we're filming.
We're filming.
We're not. We are recording on a different day, and I'm just all discombobulated, and I need to get my shit together.
No,
like, if I sound like I'm half dead, mind your business. I am. I am dead, half dead. Well, yeah, I'm half dead. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm great.
She is. I know. At least, yeah, you're like glowing, and you had
That's
a cave
just-
coffee, and I'm
just
just
sunscreen.
sitting here like with no bra on, like not even caring about anything.
If I didn't have somewhere to be after this, I probably would not be wearing a bra either. So
the older I get, the less I care. It just that's what it is.
listen, I turned like 17 and I was like, fuck it all. I'm done. And I've been living that way ever since.
Yeah, free balling.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I digress.
We're digressing already.
Oh man, sorry.
So before we begin, I just want to say that if you are an East Coast listener, please head over to our Facebook page or our TikTok at the Ghosty Girls Podcast and just take a look at our post because there is a missing mother of 4 children in our area. Yeah, she is 40 years old. Her name is Celia Sloan. Apparently she also goes by Leah, named Leah Sloan.
Okay.
She has been missing for like a week now.
And she's cute as a freaking button.
I know. And it's a little sus because she went missing right before a PFA hearing against her ex-husband.
I saw that.
But yeah, they held a search party for her over the weekend. It turned up nothing.
4 kids, and her kids are little.
Yeah, I think one of them's older. I think one of them is a teenager.
Okay.
But the rest of them are younger.
Little.
Yeah, and they don't know where she is, but it doesn't look good. So if you guys have, see something, say something. Okay. If you hear anything, you can report it anonymously. Shit. I mean, you can email us or message us and I will relay the message for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%.
You can send it to us anonymously. You can make a fake profile. I don't care. I'll make sure that the message gets to where it needs to be. But we need to bring this girl home because
Yes, please.
yeah, it's really sad.
Preferably alive.
Yeah, preferably, yeah. So last week, we left off with the abduction of 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey, who was lured away from a fair by Ian Brady and Myra Hindley the day after Christmas in 1964.
To help carry groceries.
Yeah.
From a fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
It's said that many of the facts in this case are up for debate because this case is the case that Myra specifically really hated talking about. And that's most likely because she was undeniably very involved in this abduction, rape, torture, and murder. As you may recall from last week, this attack was recorded on audio, and the audio displayed Myra as a very willing participant. Yeah. Shortly after the abduction, Leslie's mother and stepfather found out from one of Leslie's brothers that she wasn't at the fair when he went to go find her. Her parents, of course, became hysterical and immediately went to go try to find their daughter. One really fucked up detail of this case is that Leslie's mother was under the impression that Leslie was going to this fair with one of her friends who was 9 years old, and also the friend's mother, Mary Clark. Instead, the mother of her friend, quote, didn't feel like going to the fair, so she let these 2 little girls go by themselves.
Oh no.
With no adult. Yeah.
That's why I'm a helicopter mom.
I know. Same.
Ugh.
Leslie's mother recounted her anger with this line in the book, The Moors Murders by C.G.C. Cook. And she stated, quote, all my fear burst out in hysterical accusations and angry threats when we got to the Clarks. I raved at Mary for not going to the wretched fair. Almost out of control, I accused them of negligence, cursed them for being so irresponsible as to allow a 9-year-old like Linda to go on her own with Leslie. Her guilt and my fury were a potent and explosive mixture.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, I get it.
I get it.
Yeah,
I
like
would be
you
the same.
Yeah, you trust another mother to look after your child when they're in their care, and then the mom just decides that she doesn't want to go and lets the two children go by themselves. Like, this is a 9 and a 10-year-old.
Not okay.
It's not.
No.
You can't send a 9 and a 10-year-old to a carnival by themselves. Come on. That's crazy.
No.
Or fair, whatever it was.
I mean, even back then.
Yeah, I mean, if I were Leslie's mom, I would have had her by the fucking throat. I'm not gonna lie. I would have lost
She'd
my
be
mind.
missing as well.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Yes. So Leslie's mother, stepfather, her brother Tommy, and also the father of Leslie Ann's friend went back to the fair to look for Leslie, but by that point, it was too late, and Leslie Ann was reported missing by 6 p.m. that evening. Leslie Ann's mother later stated that the police could not have been less interested or helpful.
That fucking pisses me off, too.
Yeah, they kind of acted like, oh, I mean, she's a little kid. She'll come home.
She's
like,
9.
Yeah. Well, Leslie Ann was 10. The friend was 9.
Still.
But still, she's a child. Yeah. At the same time that Leslie Ann's family was practically begging the police department to actually do something to help find their daughter, and keep in mind, this was the police department that actually wanted to hire dumbass Myra Hindley.
Yep. You know.
Leslie Ann Downey was being strangled to death by Ian and Myra. Yep. After they strangled her to death, they took her corpse into the bathroom and placed her in the bathtub to wash off any DNA evidence that may have been picked up in the home. And this murder was riskier than the others because they actually brought her into their home. They didn't kill Leslie at the moors like they had killed their other victims. So this murder was very different from the ones prior. But as different as it was still similar in the fact that Ian and Myra celebrated afterwards by getting drunk and having sex.
I can't.
Yeah, because they're just total pieces of dog shit. So, of course, they would do something that vile.
You know.
Yeah.
Per usual.
Yep, just another day that ends in Y for them. So after they woke up from their hangover the next day, they drove Leslie Ann's corpse to the moors, and Ian got out of the car to go dig a grave, leaving Myra in the car with the corpse. And amazingly enough, guess what the fuck happens while Ian is digging a grave and Myra's waiting in the car with a dead body? A cop rolls
Police?
up. Yeah.
Hopefully.
A cop rolls up and asks Myra if everything's okay and if she needs help. And Myra's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just sitting here waiting for my spark plugs to dry out.
What?
I don't know. And the cop's like, yeah, seems legit. And he
Totally.
leaves without asking her any further questions.
I can't.
So again, bang up police work done in this case. Like,
It sounds like it. It sounds like these guys are fully trained.
so the cop leaves. Ian comes back and he carries Leslie Ann's lifeless body to the grave and buries her. Meanwhile, Leslie Ann's mother and stepfather are brought to the police station to be individually questioned. And they're asked things like if her stepfather is a pedophile, and asking them if they beat Leslie Ann, which caused her to run away. So they basically blame the parents.
I fucking hate these cops.
Yeah, I'm sure that was just fucking awesome for her parents to go through. Like, your child's missing, and then you go to the police department, and they're like, do you abuse her? Like, I know it's probably standard, but
But still, that's too much.
it's awful. Leslie Ann's stepfather actually said that the interrogation was so rough that if the questioning had gone on much longer, he would have just confessed just to get the officers to leave him alone.
What?
That's how bad it was. And this is a prime example of how easy it can be to get a false confession out of a completely innocent person during a police interrogation. I hate when people are like, how could anyone ever confess to something that they didn't do? Like, this is how. It happens.
Because the police are that bad.
Yes. So one thing that the police did get right in this case is that they searched every caravan from the fair, and they also interviewed hundreds of people. But
Really?
I mean, I can't give I can't give them that much credit because that's pretty standard. Like, they did the bare minimum.
Right. And they probably were just like, hey, did you see this girl? No, great, thanks.
Probably.
Assholes.
The interviews and search, of course, led to no leads, and people soon began to connect the dots between the other missing children in the area because there were 3 other ones, Pauline Reed, Keith Bennett, and John Kilbride. So remember in the last episode when I touched briefly on Myra's sister Maureen and her husband David, and how Myra and Ian were essentially grooming David to be a part of their crimes? Yeah. It's at this point that the grooming really ramps up, and probably one of the biggest catalysts was the death of Maureen and David's baby daughter, which, it's horrific. Like, and apparently the baby was fine. They laid her down for a nap, and then when they went to wake her up, she was dead, and the death was ruled as complications from bronchitis.
That sounds sus.
It kind of does.
Poor SIDS. That was like one of my biggest fears.
Oh yeah, for sure. And my daughter slept through the night. Like from day one, she slept through the night.
You lucky.
Well, it scared me. I used to set alarms on my phone, like to go check on her because I thought she was dead. Because she literally slept through the whole night as an infant. I don't know.
You bitch.
You can't win as a parent.
No.
You know, it's like you want them to sleep through the night, but then when they do, you're like, oh my God, did they die? And then you freak yourself out, and then you can't sleep.
You don't.
So it's always something. You're always worrying.
And then you're like a hammered piece of shit the whole next day.
Exactly, yeah. And they're all like alert because, they've been sleeping all night. Cool. So Maureen and David, they really began to hang around Ian and Myra a lot more after the death of their baby, because I think that they were really going through it. They all started like partying and drinking together a lot. They would frequently go to the moors together, which is weird.
Did they know?
No, not at that point. No. But yeah, they would get drunk together. They would play cards. And Ian also began to discuss his plans for burglaries with David because he wanted to kind of feel him out to see if he was down for it. And David, being sick of working for the man, decided that he wanted in. So Ian and Myra essentially began training David, taking him to the moors to learn how to shoot their guns. And they also began planning a bank robbery and scoping out banks to perform said robbery. It was also at this point that Ian confessed to David that he had committed multiple murders, gotten away with all of them, and also planned on doing it again. He even confessed to David that he had tons of photographs of the murders as well as the dead bodies. But David, he didn't really know whether to believe him. Like, because Ian was a bullshitter. Yeah. I mean, Ian's a weird fucker. So, and he also wanted to seem cool all the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look what I did, meh.
Look at me go.
Yeah. But they did not know that there were dead bodies buried at the moors. According to Maureen and David, anyway. All of these people lie, so who the fuck knows?
I hate all of them.
Yeah. They all suck.
I didn't say that yet.
So Ian was not impressed with David's response because David didn't fall all over himself worshiping Ian and being impressed with the fact that he was a murderer. So Ian and Myra actually considered murdering David, and Myra told Ian that she would do it herself.
Yeah, but she innocent,
offered, right? Yeah, she's a delicate flower.
Delicate little fucking flower. I can't. I'm not even gonna say God bless her. I can't.
They ultimately decided not to kill him, but mainly because Myra didn't want to hurt her sister, because that was her sister's husband. And Myra, she's a very kind and thoughtful person.
So fucking thoughtful.
Yeah, so she decided not to murder him. So this brings us up to the fall of 1965, when Ian and Myra decided that it was time to perform yet another sacrifice, and they chose the night of October 6, 1965. Myra and Ian drove to the Manchester Central Railway station, where Myra parked her car and waited for Ian to choose a victim. Interestingly, while Myra was waiting in her car, a police officer approached her because she was illegally parked.
You can't make this shit up.
Yeah, do you guys see a running theme here? This kind of reminded me of Jeffrey Dahmer too, because he was driving to dispose of a corpse and got pulled over, and he was actually drunk. Okay. I think he was 17 at the time, and the cops, like, they cut him a break and they were like, just drive home. Just drive home. He was drunk. He was 17 and he had a corpse in his trunk that he was driving to go bury. You really can't make this shit up.
No.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
So yeah. This
Sorry.
is stupid. It really is.
Stupid.
But again, Myra was able to charm the police officer and he left her alone. Soon after, Ian returns with 17-year-old Edward Evans. Allegedly, and this is according to Ian, he picked up Edward specifically under the impression that they would be having a sexual encounter. This hasn't been confirmed. Again, Ian's a liar. Who knows?
Yeah.
So he brought Edward back to the car. And when they got in the car, Ian told Edward that Myra was his sister. So again, they had like a little weird setup thing.
Gross.
She was his beard. Isn't that what they call it?
I think so.
Yeah. They then drove back to Myra's grand's house and got drunk on wine. Shortly after, at 11:30 p.m., there's a knock on David and Maureen's door, and it's Myra looking a, quote, proper mess, asking if David could walk her home because all of the streetlights were out. So David gets dressed and goes to walk Myra home, which is just a few doors down, so it's not like it was a big fucking deal. Like, so David knew something was up. He knew something wasn't right. Myra then tells David that Ian has some miniature wine bottles for him, which again is really fucking weird. Like, why would you show up at somebody's house at 11:30 at night and be like, hey,
Walk me home. I have
yeah,
wine.
and we have wine bottles.
And they're minis.
Like, what? They're not even full size. They're minis.
So you can have like 6 and still be sober.
Yeah. David gets there and he is completely fucking shocked at the horrific scene that he was just dragged into by Myra. And this is a direct quote from David. I waited about a minute or two. Then suddenly I heard a hell of a scream. It sounded like a woman, really high pitched. Then the screams carried on, one after another, really loud. Then I heard Myra shout, Dave, help him. When I ran in, I just stood inside the living room and I saw a young lad. He was lying with his head and shoulders on the couch and his legs were on the floor. He was facing upwards. Ian was standing over him, facing him, with his legs on either side of the young lad's legs. The lad was still screaming. Ian had a hatchet in his hand. He was holding it above his head, and he hit the lad on the left side of the head with the hatchet.
No.
Yeah, I heard the blow. It was a terrible, hard blow. It sounded horrible. The young lad was still screaming, and he half fell and half wriggled off of the couch onto the floor and onto his stomach. Ian went after him and stood over him and kept hacking away at the young lad with a hatchet. I don't know how many times he hit the lad, but it was a lot, about the head, the neck, and the shoulders. He waited while the lad groaned and then hit him with the axe on the back of the head. The lad stopped groaning and was making a gurgling sound. So David witnessed all of this. Surprisingly, after the 14 axe blows sustained from Ian, Edward was still not dead. He hit him with an axe 14 times, and he was still alive. Yeah.
Ugh.
Frustrated, Ian grabbed an electrical cord and strangled Edward until there was no longer any breath in his body. The attack was so violent that one of Ian's axe blows actually grazed Myra's head and another cut David's leg.
So he was just like...
It was a frenzied murder, yeah. Ian even injured himself pretty badly, and he sustained a sprained ankle, which made it difficult to maneuver the body. So he bit off a lot more than he could chew abducting a 17-year-old boy. Like, this was no small child. Ian had met his match. This was not an easy kill for him.
Well, it would have been great if that 17-year-old was stronger than he thought and actually
I know.
got him.
I know. Reluctantly, according to David anyway, the two men wrapped Edward's lifeless body in plastic sheets and then dragged it to the spare bedroom until they could figure out exactly what Ian was going to do with the body. Myra's gran, who was actually in the fucking house while all of this was going on.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Shit.
She was awoken by all the screaming and yelled downstairs asking what the fuck was going on. And Myra was like, oh, I dropped a record player on my foot. Which,
What?
yeah, seems legit, right?
I mean, you got to figure if you drop a record player on your foot, you're going to scream once, not multiple times. The amount of screams coming out of a 17-year-old boy
Yeah.
versus dropping a record player on your foot.
Yeah, but I mean, like, how would you even drop a record player on your foot?
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Because it's like, they were so much bigger back then. I don't know. The whole thing's fucking stupid, but her grandma was like, oh, okay, cool. And went back to bed. Yeah. Which is also kind of a nod to Jeffrey Dahmer because Jeffrey Dahmer lived with his grandmother and he murdered people in his grandmother's house and dismembered the bodies in the basement. And the grandmother was just like, huh.
Yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. So
I can't.
weird. Like, how are people not more vigilant, especially in your own fucking house? Let me tell you. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a helicopter mom, but I know everything that goes on in this fucking house.
As you should.
Like, there's not going to be anything hidden in my basement that I don't know about. There's like, that's your house.
I mean, that you don't know about is a key word. Maybe she knew and she was just like, fuck it. I don't have time for this shit.
Who even knows?
I don't know.
That's all fucking weird. So Ian and David, they just sit on the couch and chill and drink wine and smoke cigarettes while Myra starts getting all the cleaning supplies ready. They then spent 3 hours cleaning up the crime scene and discussing their next steps. Around 3 a.m., David left to go home with the understanding that he would return in the morning to help dispose of the body. So David plays it cool until he's able to get the fuck out of there. And then he basically like guns it home to Maureen because according to him, he didn't want to help with any of this, but he was like, I literally just watched this guy be axed to death. Like, who's to say that he's not going to kill me too? And I get that.
He was going to kill him.
Yeah. And he does the right thing. He goes home to Maureen and she can tell that something's going on. Like, he's freaking the fuck out. He's got blood on him. Maureen saw that he was in distress. So Maureen made him a cup of tea, which is very British.
Very British.
So,
enjoy, Daddy.
Yeah, right. David drinks the tea. He begins profusely vomiting, and then he confesses to Maureen what he saw. And Maureen, of course, is completely shocked. Like, this is her sister.
Right.
And essentially her brother-in-law. Like, Ian and Myra aren't married, but still, like...
They basically were at this point. Like,
yeah. Like, I don't know how I would react if someone came to my house and was like, hey, like, I just saw your sister and brother-in-law, like, fucking hack the shit out of somebody. And then they forced me to help them clean it up.
You would call your sister and go, yo, you got to take care of this person. They're blabbing.
Probably.
I'm just kidding.
Not if it's a kid, though.
Oh, no. 100% no.
If it's a kid, fuck that. No.
No.
Anywho. So, yeah, he confessed to Maureen what he saw. And at 6 a.m., David and Maureen left their home to go call the police from a telephone booth, which again is like very British. I imagine them being in like those little like,
like
red
Doctor Who.
Yeah, I know. So they go in the phone booth, they call the police, and they wait there until the police show up. I know.
So
crazy.
wait, the police showed up at the phone booth?
Yes, they showed up at the phone booth.
Smart.
Yeah, and they took both David and Maureen to the police station. And apparently David like had a weapon on him because he was afraid because remember, they lived like a couple doors down from Ian and Myra. So they were like, fuck, if they see us in a phone booth, they're probably gonna they're gonna know we're calling the police.
Shit.
So he brought a weapon. I think it was like it was some kind of knife or something, I think. And he was like ready if shit went down. Like, yeah.
Ugh.
So, yep, take him to the police station and David confesses everything. He tells him everything he saw. So the police then head over to Myra's grand's home at 16 Wardlebrook Avenue. They knock on the door, and this is interesting to me. They actually wore a borrowed milkman's outfit. The police officer did. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. I guess they did that because maybe they thought that if they came to the door dressed as a police officer, that maybe they'd just like stick a gun out the window and shoot. I don't know.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I don't know.
I mean, I get that, but they've already fucked up enough. Just go fucking arrest them, guys. Like, fucking do your
seriously, job. Yeah. Myra comes to the door, and the police officer, who is wearing a milkman's outfit. Like, I guess she saw like the logo on his outfit and she was like, yeah, we don't have that brand. We have, whatever. Because remember, they used to deliver milk,
which
to
is
your doorstep.
Also crazy, but
I know.
I digress.
Times have changed so much. Now we have milk delivered by like Instacart
or Amazon.
Or Amazon, yeah. So Myra just like figures that this guy is just, a milkman, and she's just kind of dismissing him. But then the officer asks if her husband is home, and she's like, I don't have a husband. And then I guess they asked her if a man was in the house, and she said there's no man in the house. The police officer then identified himself, and at that point Myra knew like they were fucked, and she admits to the officer that her boyfriend was in the other room. So the officers come into the home to find Ian writing an excuse letter to his job, explaining how he hurt his ankle and won't be able to go into work.
Stop.
Yeah. Part of the note read, I was crossing the road in town last night when someone on a bike came around the corner and knocked me down. I was all right until I got up this morning and my ankle could not take my weight. I must have weak ankles or something.
He must have, never mind.
Yeah.
A bicycle.
Dumb.
A bicycle.
You know what I keep... When you did that, I was thinking of that Queen song, Bicycle, Bicycle.
I want to ride my bicycle.
I want to ride my bike. We digress.
No, we don't. That was amazing.
It was. So the police sit down with Ian and they tell him that they are investigating a report that some shit went down at that house just a few hours prior. And at first, Ian and Myra just play dumb.
Where's the grandma?
I guess upstairs. I don't
She's
fucking
like,
know.
fuck this,
She's
I'm
like,
sleeping. I'm old.
She's like doing that like I'm brushing my hands and
Yep.
she's like, nah, man, this is all you. This is all you, fam.
That's funny.
So the police ask if they can search the house, and Myra lets them, knowing that the room that held the body was locked. So I guess she thought that the police would just try to open the locked door, see it was locked, and then just be like, oh, okay, I guess we can't get in there. Like, that's fine. We're going to leave now. But no. The cops were like, we're going in that fucking room, so unlock it. Myra tells them that the key is at work, and the cops are like, okay, cool. We'll drive you down to your work to get the key. Like, we're getting in that fucking room.
Whether you like it or not, bitch.
Yeah. Ian, at this point, he realizes, like, it's over. And I think at this point, I think he was just so exhausted, like, mentally. He's just like, I'm fucking caught. Like, I don't have any fight in me anymore. So he looks at Myra and he says, well, you had better tell them. So instead of telling them, Myra gives them the keys to the bedroom. They go upstairs, unlock the door, and there's the body of Edward Evans, the axe, and a couple of fully loaded revolvers. There's also blood all over the room.
Of course.
So that was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were like, well, all right. Okay.
They were like, Welp. And what happened next is interesting to me. The police arrest Ian Brady, but they don't arrest Myra.
Because she's one of them. She's a cop, remember?
Yeah. Instead, Myra tells the police that if they are arresting her man, that she's going with them to the police department. And that's dedication right there. Like, that's a ride or die girlfriend.
Is it?
Literally.
She's just going to make sure he doesn't throw her under the bus.
The police question Ian about why the fuck there's a dead body in the house. He's got a bum ankle. Like, what is going on in here? Okay. And Ian tells them that he met Edward in Manchester while out drinking. They went back to Myra's place. They got into an argument. Edward was essentially the aggressor, of course.
Duh.
Yeah. And Ian killed him while they were fighting. The police, of course, they're not buying it. Well, I shouldn't say they're not buying it entirely, because Ian did tell them that Myra had absolutely nothing to do with the murder.
Wow.
Yeah. And the police actually let her go after questioning her.
I can't.
They let her go. But before she left, she was questioned by police, and Myra kept using the line, "My story is the same as Ian's." And she just said this over and over repeatedly. She also told them that David was a liar and essentially pinned this all on him by saying that her and Ian were there when the shit went down, but that they weren't a part of it. It just happened at their house.
Yeah, okay.
So they blamed David. It's
Jeez,
fucked up.
I can't.
Now, David's story fully implicated Myra, but again, Myra was allowed to leave. That's fucking crazy to me. Like,
I mean,
why wouldn't they at least keep her overnight? I don't know. I don't know. There's a dead body in your house, ma'am.
please just go home and clean that shit up. We don't need the evidence.
It's fine. You've had a long night, obviously.
Yeah.
So just go home and get some rest, okay?
Yeah, we'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
Don't leave town.
Go have a
okay?
cup of tea.
With a biscuit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's insane to me that they let Myra Hindley walk out of that police station. Like, I don't, whatever.
But she's an innocent victim.
She's a woman, okay? Women don't do things like that. So Myra leaves and she goes to stay with family because the police were searching her Grant's house and no one was allowed to enter. Like, that was an active crime scene.
Meanwhile, Grant's still sleeping upstairs.
Right? Like, where the fuck is Grant at this point? While Myra was free, she was able to dispose of crucial evidence, including the file with the master list, and she burnt all of it.
Okay.
Which sucks. We'll never know what was in that big file.
Man, that would have been cool if it was in a museum.
I know. Their master list. Yep.
Yeah.
The following day, Ian Brady was officially charged with the murder of Edward Evans. Police continued to conduct a search at Myra's Grant's house, and this is when they discovered that the evidence was painting a much different picture. Mm-hmm. And that picture was that Myra was way more involved than both herself and Ian claimed she was. They also saw that this rabbit hole went a lot deeper than just the murder of Edward Evans.
Oh, good.
Yeah. While searching the home, police found a notebook with the name of John Kilbride scribbled in it. And that's when they really started connecting the dots. In Myra's quote-unquote prayer book, investigators found the claim ticket for suitcases at Manchester Central Railway Station. I'm having a real hard issue. I'm not even going to try to do it again.
Railway.
It is what it is. Manchester Central Railway Station.
Was that in a rural area?
Shut it. So they go and they confiscate the suitcases, and that's when the nail was really driven into the coffin for both Ian and Myra. In those suitcases, they found pornographic images of Leslie Ann Downing, as well as a 16-minute audio tape of Leslie's murder. Yep. And Leslie was identified by her mother through these pictures and also the audio. So Leslie's mother actually had to not only view these disgusting images of her child and what they did to her, but she also had to listen to the audio in order to identify her daughter's voice in the tape crying for her mommy.
I can't.
I know. Ugh. She had to listen to that. It's fucked. I can't even imagine. So at this point, Myra Hindley is officially arrested because, I mean, she's all over it. She's heard on the tape. It's a done deal.
Thank God.
On April 19, 1966, the trial of Ian Brady and Myra Hindley officially began. And something that was interesting to me was that this trial only lasted 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
And how many murders?
So both Ian and Myra were charged in the murders of John Kilbride, Leslie Ann Downey, and Edward Evans. So they 3 murders, and they only had a 14-day trial. That's crazy.
I mean, they did shitty police work, so they were probably trying to wrap it up. So
yeah, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. It's just crazy because other trials last months. Like, how long was the O.J. Simpson trial? That was an entire fucking summer.
Yeah, but that was fun.
It was fun. But yeah, they were only charged with 3 murders because at this point, they didn't have enough evidence to try them for Pauline Reed, who was their actual first victim. Ian and Myra both pled not guilty, and they both spent hours testifying in their own defense. And the jury fucking hated them. Like, they just thought that they were arrogant pieces of shit. Which
they are.
Accurate, yeah.
Good job, jury.
The jury was also forced to listen to the audio clip of little Leslie Ann Downey being tortured and murdered.
Nope.
Which was, by all accounts, extremely traumatic for all involved.
I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
The people that listened to it, they said that they have never been able to get it out of their head. There was a documentary I was watching. I'll link it in the show notes. But there was a police officer that said, like, anytime he heard the little drummer boy after, he like literally had a panic attack, like, and would start crying.
I can't.
Yeah. On May 6, 1966, after only 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with 2 guilty verdicts. Ian Brady was found guilty for all 3 victims, while Myra was only found guilty of the murders of Leslie Ann Downey and Edward Evans. Since the death penalty had been abolished not even a year prior, the maximum sentence of life in prison was the only option. Ian was sentenced to 3 concurrent life sentences, and Myra was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 7 years for obstruction of justice in the John Kilbride case. And that was the murder that she was not found guilty of. Many people believe that Ian and Myra were involved in several other deaths, although other than Pauline Reed, none of them could be definitively proven. It is alleged by someone who was a prison mate of Myra's that she did confess to 6 murders and said that they had murdered another teenage girl that was never found.
Oh, shit.
But again, we'll never know.
I mean, hopefully they would look at the missing persons list.
Yeah, yeah.
But then again, these police...
Then again,
who knows?
Myra and Ian did correspond for a little bit while they were incarcerated, but that was until Myra sent him a letter in 1971 breaking up with him for good. And you would think that the reason that Myra broke things off with him is because she realized, you know, what a dick Ian is.
You know.
But no, she actually broke up with him because she had fallen in love with her prison warden, Patricia Carnes, who ultimately planned to bust Myra out of prison.
Oh.
Yeah. Patricia was ultimately sentenced to 6 years in prison for orchestrating the escape.
They could be together forever. At least 6 years.
David Smith received no jail time for his part in the cleaning up of the murder scene of Edward Evans, but his life was an absolute living hell after trial.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Both he and Maureen were harassed and attacked because the public hated them, not only for being associated with Ian and Myra, but also because David ended up profiting off of the murders by selling his story, which outraged the public, and rightfully so.
I get it.
Yeah. Maureen and David ultimately split up, and David ended up marrying a teenage girl.
Stop.
Just 15 years old, to be exact. And he also spent time in prison for stabbing someone during a fight.
Okay.
Everyone in this story is fucking awful except for the victims and their families.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Pauline Reed's mother never got over the death of her daughter, and she was ultimately committed to a mental institution. Leslie Ann Downey's mother spent the rest of her life campaigning to keep Myra specifically in prison for the rest of her life. Because remember, at one point she was up for parole. Yeah. Didn't happen, but... The House of Horrors on Wardlebrook Avenue, Myra's grand's house, was ultimately demolished. The stress of the case and also the murder of their son took its toll on the relationship of John Kilbride's parents, and they ended up divorcing. And this is just a small example of how the actions of these two had such an awful and tragic ripple effect on so many lives. It affected so many people. Ian Brady was incarcerated at H.M. Prison, Durham, in solitary confinement, which I may add was requested by Ian himself. He didn't want to be around anybody. He spent almost 2 decades in prison until the winter of 1985, when Ian was officially diagnosed as a psychopath. And was thus transferred to a maximum security psychiatric hospital.
It took that long?
Mm-hmm. In 1999, Ian went on a hunger strike in an attempt to kill himself in the psychiatric hospital, saying that he should be allowed to die. He has a right to end his life. He was then force-fed to be kept alive, and this is because he was considered mentally ill. So he wanted to die to end his suffering in prison, and they kept his ass alive.
Good.
Which is fucking hilarious.
Love that.
I love that for him. In 2013, and again in 2017, Ian attempted to persuade the courts into transferring him to a prison in Scotland where he would no longer have to be force-fed. Because they wouldn't force-feed you in prison, but they would force-feed you in a psych ward. Unfortunately for him, the request was denied, and he remained in the psychiatric hospital where he was kept alive. He even wrote a book while he was in prison that was actually published.
No.
Yeah.
Stop.
The book was essentially an analysis of serial killers and murderers, which, I mean, not for nothing, but that's Ian's specialty. So it's probably a banger of a book.
It probably is.
Yeah, still fuck that guy. During her 36 years in prison, Myra suffered from multiple health ailments, including heart attacks and strokes, due to being a very heavy smoker. According to Roman Catholic priest Father Michael Teeter, who sat with Myra while she was dying and read her last rites, her last words were about her mother and how much she loved her. Father Teeter was also the prison chaplain, and he said that in all the years that he had known her, she has always expressed remorse and sorrow, and she ultimately did confess to all 5 murders. Still, I don't fuck her.
Yeah.
Before her death, Myra wrote out her prison will, outlining that her organs were not to be donated to anyone.
Bitch.
Yeah, and that she was to be cremated and her ashes spread at an undisclosed location. Apparently, no one knows where her remains were ever scattered. But I immediately got the morbid thought in my mind, like, what if she wanted her ashes spread at the moors?
That's guarantee you. That's where they were. On it.
In letters turned over by Myra before she died, Myra states that Ian Brady physically abused and raped her repeatedly throughout their relationship, and that he would strangle her and threaten to kill her to keep her in line. Myra also said that she was completely infatuated and obsessed with Ian and making sure that he was happy. She said that he would do things to humiliate her, and she even claimed that he would drug her gran by putting sleeping pills in her tea and also threatening to kill her gran if Myra did not continue assisting him in the rapes and murders.
Now we know where gran was.
Yeah. She was sleeping from the sleeping pills, yep. In a direct quote from the letter, Myra states, quote, "I couldn't go to the police about him, for there was no proof of anything, and whilst I feared and often hated him, I was also emotionally obsessed with him, and I just couldn't change my feelings for him." Myra Hindley died from respiratory failure on November 15, 2002, at the age of 60. Ian Brady ended up dying of restrictive pulmonary disease on May 15, 2017, at the age of 79. And to that I say, rest in distress, motherfuckers.
Yes.
And now we're done with Ian and Myra.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck the police. Well, no.
It's like an NWA song.
Fuck the police.
Yeah, no, those police
in that
officers,
case.
yeah.
Yeah, specifically fuck the police in that case, not in general, because there's a lot of good.
Well, it's like any other profession. You're going to have good people and you're going to have bad people.
Yep.
It's just humanity. You're going to have good people, you're going to have bad people.
Fuck. It's too much. I can't take it.
Yeah. But again, if you are from the East Coast, make sure you visit our social media pages so you can check out the details of the missing mother in Newark. Just wanted to plug that again because I feel really bad for her family, and I hope that they can find her.
Yes, please share it.
Oh yeah, share for sure.
Yeah, share it. And again, like Christina said earlier, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
If you know anything, if you can send it to us.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
She'll get that shit done.
Yeah, I will.
I won't see it for 2 days, but she'll get that shit done.
I will. Yeah. But thank you guys for listening. We'll have a good one next week too.
Yeah.
Alicia did a good one.
We'll see.
You won't have to hear my voice for the entire episode. You'll get to hear Alicia's lovely voice.
Again, sorry in advance.
No, you have a lovely voice. Someone left a comment on the TikTok saying you have a great radio voice.
Oh.
Yeah. But you probably didn't see it.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's on there.
Is that a shocker or what?
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And if you want to, give us a positive review. And if you don't want to give us a positive review, don't leave one at all.
Fuck yourself.
And also go fuck yourself. But we will see you next Tuesday.
Don't be one.
Bye.
Bye.